Hey guys, welcome back to Bookmas and welcome to my October plus my November wrap up. So I decided to add my October wrap up in here as well because I didn't make an October wrap up for the month of October. I didn't read many books, so I didn't want the video to be too short. So I've decided to mash up October and November in one video and give you guys my wrap up for both months. So yeah, let's get into it. I had a lot of good books planned out for October. I read some of them, but I also didn't read as much as I wanted to. I guess I was starting to get in a little bit of a book slump, or it was either that or the beginning of school starting, and so I really was focusing a lot on school and like trying to balance out reading, but sort of failed, but also kind of didn't fail because I'd say 4 books is still a good amount for me. I read a few fun books, so I don't really mind. So yeah, let's just get into the first book that I read. The first book that I read was Then She Was Gone by Lisa Jules. This book follows a story of a mom and her daughter has been missing for a long time now. Laurel is obviously having a hard time. She's trying to cope with her grief, but just when she starts to move on from the past a little bit, she encounters this man at a restaurant and they soon start to talk more, and then she soon meets his daughter. But what's weird is that his daughter looks exactly like her missing daughter, so that leads Laurel questioning a bunch of things and mysteries that she starts to dig into throughout the story. I gave this book a 3 stars, so it was honestly really close to it being like a 2 stars. I was only really intrigued during key parts of the story, like when Laurel met the man and I was really like, who is this man? Is he a bad guy? Obviously that piqued my interest, and also towards the end of the story when we finally resolved the whole mystery. But for the most part, I felt that this book was really dull. It was kind of slow. I wasn't really interested in like the mystery part. I just didn't really love this book. It felt really gloomy, and the time that I was reading this in, I was also feeling really gloomy, so like I didn't want to be even more gloomy. So yeah, I just don't really have too many positive thoughts, but I also, like, it was still bearable. I still found myself interested in some parts, so that's why I gave it a 3 instead of a 2. I would still recommend this because I've seen a lot of people actually like it. I might have not liked it, but I think that a lot of other people still might like it. Then after that, I read My Roommate is a Vampire. This book was on my original like fall TBR. I was so excited when I finally got it. I've heard a lot of great things about it, but I wasn't expecting to love it as much as I did. I thought it was going to be like just another quick fun read, and it was, but I feel like this book will stick with me for a while. This story follows the female main character, Cassie. Cassie is a struggling artist, so she's looking for an apartment and she comes across this really sketchy and suspiciously cheap apartment, and so she goes to meet up with her soon-to-be roommate. And her first encounter with him, his name is Frederick. Her first encounter with him is really strange. The house is like super old and his mannerisms are really old-fashioned. He's just kind of weird at first, but she takes the risk and she decides to take the apartment. And throughout the story, we just see them forming like a bond, and we obviously find out that he's a vampire, and like he's a vampire living in this new age, but he still acts the same way that he did than when he was before a vampire. It was really fun reading about someone who isn't really knowledgeable about like the modern world, and her teaching him about like social media and all these modern things and like how to dress more modern. But it was just a really fun read. It was perfect for the month of October. I love their relationship, and Frederick was literally love. We love Frederick. I gave this book a 4 stars. It was also really funny. I found myself laughing so many times in this book. I feel like Cassie is such a relatable female main character. I love how we saw her passion for art, her showing her art to Frederick, and Frederick was like enchanted by her artwork. It was just really sweet to read about. So yeah, I love this book. It will definitely stick with me for a while. There was just something about it. It was really charming to me. And then I read the most gut-wrenching read of this year, Redeeming 6. Can you guys guess my rating for this? It's obviously a 5 stars. There's too much that even goes into this. I don't think I could explain it all in one video, but we continue on where Saving 6 ended off. Also, this is part of the Binding 13 series. This is the 4th book, and it follows the story of Joey and Eva, but their home life is getting worse and worse with each day, and Joey is really starting to struggle a lot more. The older he gets, the more pressure is put on him, and so the way he's coping with that is really not healthy for him. The way that he's doing it really affects not only him, but it affects everyone else around him. So we really see that throughout the story, and it's crazy. It's just crazy. This book was a roller coaster of emotions, and everyone around him, especially Aoife, is really trying their best to help him, and it's just so sad, but the ending was worth it. The ending wasn't like fairy tale perfect. It was the perfect ending for this book. It was really realistic, but like a good ending as well. And I'm so excited to continue on with this series. We also finally did get to see Johnny and Shannon, because the timeline of this book is the same timeline of when Binding 13 started. So I already knew some of the things that were gonna come up since they already happened in the previous books, but we also did get to see a lot of new things happening within like Joey and Aoife that were just like so heartbreaking. Also, I could have tabbed so many quotes. I might go back and do that, but out of all of them, I only tabbed like one chapter 107. That chapter actually like broke my heart. If you haven't read this, don't go look at it because you're gonna spoil it for yourself. When I finished this book, I was just left with so many emotions. And finally, the last book that I read in October was Fake Skating by Lynn Painter, her newest release. I rated this book a 4 stars. This book starts off with Danny, the female main character. She moves back to her hometown for her senior year of high school. It's cold, it's winter time, and everyone is obsessed with hockey. So she's trying to get used to that. She's trying to get used to the weather. She's trying to get used to everyone being obsessed with hockey, because she gets there and she's like, all they talk about is hockey. And throughout all of that, she starts to reconnect with her childhood best friend Alec, who also appears to be like a major hockey player at the school. Something happens, and then they decide to fake a relationship to boost Alec's reputation, I guess, and also to benefit Danny in boosting her chances into getting Harvard, because Danny's goal is to get into Harvard. And I very much appreciated the winter setting to get me into that winter mood. That's that for that book, and that's also that for the month of October. Okay, so in November, I read 3 books, 1 sci-fi, 1 memoir, and 1 historical fiction / dark academia. Starting off with Ignite Me. At first, I gave this book a 4 stars, but then I reflected and I was like, I don't really think about this book too much, so I changed my rating to a 3 stars. This is the actual 3rd book in the Shatter Me series, because when I made my November TBR, I accidentally mistaken Imagine Me for the 3rd book. Yeah, Ignite Me was actually the book that I was supposed to read. So in this book, we follow Juliet. She teams up with her old enemy, Aaron Warner, and they all come together to destroy the reestablishment. And basically, this book is about Juliet finding herself and who she actually is after being imprisoned for such a long time. Obviously, she's gonna struggle with identity, so she's finally out, and she's finally in this book finding herself what she wants to stand up for. She's figuring out her powers and a lot about her past, and we also see her kind of have to deal with her complicated relationship with Adam and Warner. Out of the 3 books that I've read so far, this one has been my favorite. I'm not a huge fan of like just this world. I'm just not a huge fan. I feel like I'm more interested in the characters. So in this book, I actually got a little bit more about the characters, but I love Nenji. He is just like the comedic relief that we need in this book. Diving into this one, I honestly didn't really know about a lot of the stuff that was going on, because reading the 2nd book was such a blur to me. I barely remember anything, so when they brought up things that happened in that book, I started to understand what was going on, but I still didn't have like 100% understanding. Definitely my favorite so far, but I'm still not like obsessed with this series. I want to continue with it though, because I'm mildly interested, so what's the harm in continuing the series, you know? I read Bottom of the Pyramid by Nia Sue. This is her memoir and basically everything that happened in Dance Mom that we might have not seen, and she's basically telling her story. And that's basically what a memoir is. But this book, firstly, I don't know how to rate this book. I'm gonna give it a 5 star, but I just feel like it's kind of wrong to rate someone's story, so I'm not gonna give it a rating, but if I had to, be a 5-star. I don't know. I don't think I should give someone's story a rating. That's not why she wrote her book. But I was so excited to finally get Nia's story. As a huge Dance Moms fan and growing up watching Dance Moms, Nia has always been one of my favorite girls to watch on the show and see like her experience, because I felt like I could really relate to her sometimes. And she was the OG that stayed on the show the longest, so she's really strong. And so finally getting to see her story was so exciting. So I ordered the audiobook and I listened to her memoir. But basically, if you don't know, Dance Moms is a reality show that aired, I don't remember, but in the 2000s era. It originally started off as a show for like dancers, and that's what it is, but obviously there was a lot of drama, and so they really focused more on the drama than on the dancing. The dancing is definitely like a big side of the reality show, but the drama is what people ultimately watch it for. Go check it out if you haven't already, because it's a lot. And I'm so glad that she finally came out with her own book, and seeing how she's thriving now is like, it makes me so happy. But some key parts in the story definitely really shocked me. The way that Abby was racist, and it's honestly crazy how they allowed that back then, because if that was broadcasted nowadays, that would not be allowed at all. Like, we would not let that slide. And then last but not least, for the month of November, I finally read Babel. Is it Babel or Babel? I think it can be both. I have so many overwhelming feelings for this book. There's just so much that goes into it and so many details in between. But basically, this story is about Robin Swift, a Chinese orphan who lives in poverty at first, but then he gets taken under this British man's wing, and this man basically raises him. He feeds him, he gives him shelter, and most of all, he trains him to be a translator and learn all of these languages to have a chance to get enrolled into Oxford University. Years to come, Robin finally gets enrolled into the university, and then as we get there, we find out more about the magical system of Babel that basically fuels the British Empire with these magical silver bars. And these bars have words from different languages carved into them, and ultimately they can use these silver bars to cast many different spells if it's used right. And then throughout university, we find that Robin makes friends with outcasts just like him, so they form this really strong bond and connection, and they become a very tight-knit friend group. But as Robin and his friends get more into the world of Babel, they find that they're kind of torn. Robin feels appreciative for what Babel has to offer, but he can't surpass the feeling that they're hurting his own country. So him and his friends are really struggling with that throughout the book, and they're like contemplating if they should do something about it, if they should stay at Babel, you know, what they should do about this situation. They do face a lot of racism and discrimination, and a lot of the British people can be very like ignorant. It's a very political book, so if you like that, if that sounds like kind of your jam, then I definitely recommend it. It has a very dark academia setting as well. You know, as much as it did kind of tore my heart apart, it did also have a lot of heartwarming and found family moments. And one thing I want to point out is the writing. She won't keep you guessing about something. The characters will go through something or learn a new word, and like she'll tell you what that means. Some people don't like that, but me personally, I really appreciated it because I feel like I was learning too, so I didn't really have an issue with that at all. So yeah, this book was so good. I gave it a 5 stars. I'm so glad I finally read this book, and now I can finally read The Poppy War. But yeah, that is it for today's video, guys. Those are all the books. These are 7 books in total that I read in the span of 2 months. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll see you guys in the next Bookmas video.